Are you seriously fired up about growing as a leader in business or church-based ministry? Are you feeling somewhat frustrated about not having realized your full potential in what you've been called to do? Could you do with someone to help you get some extra clarity or to be a sounding board for your plans and ideas? Great athletes have coaches, so do great leaders. The right leadership coach for you will result in an increased sense of clarity, direction, and purpose, dramatically increasing the results you achieve. If you're ready to step up, contact Errol to book a free, no-obligation introductory coaching session and see whether Errol is the right coach for you. Errol takes the lessons learned from his own leadership journey and from his extensive research to help leaders and entrepreneurs to step into their biggest challenges and rise to their next level. Email admin@errollawson.com right now to schedule your call.
Hello and welcome again to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol Lawson, and my special guest today is Jekalyn Carr. Jekalyn is a profound speaker and singer. She burst on the music scene in 2013 with the poignant and powerful Billboard Top 5 single, Greater Is Coming, which showcased a vocal ability and intensity far beyond her 15 years. Her most recent monumental milestones are being nominated for 5 Stellar Awards and receiving a Grammy nomination for Best Gospel Song Performance for her Billboard #1 single, You're Bigger, which was also named the #2 most played gospel song at radio this year by Billboard magazine in the year-end issue. You're Bigger maintained a top 5 position in the chart for over 31 consecutive weeks. And You're Bigger is lifted from Carr's album, The Life Project, which debuted at #1. Listen, I could say so much more about Jekalyn Carr, but Jekalyn, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. It's great speaking with you.
Thank you. So before we go into our interview today, Jekalyn, just please fill in any gaps in your bio there for us, please, and then give us a glimpse into what you're up to in the world right now.
Yes, well, you just about said everything. Then, of course, I just released the single. Well, not just, but I released the single entitled You Will Win. That is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon right now. That's the declaration that God gave me for all across the world. And he didn't stop there. He also gave me a book entitled You Will Win, and it's available for pre-order. It's actually my first book that I'm getting ready to release. Thank you so much. And just giving people that message and helping them to really tap into the champion that's on the inside of them, you know, not living in defeat, whether it be defeat in your career, in your finances, in your health, in your relationships. You know, this message in general is to help you re-identify yourself and just begin to see yourself as the champion that you were born to be. You were born to win. And so the book is available for pre-order. And the album, I'm getting ready to release another album entitled One Nation Under God, full album, which the song You Will Win is on that album as well. And again, both of them are available for pre-order via iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. And the book is also on barnesandnoble.com.
Awesome. Now, Jekalyn, I know most of the people listening right now, a large majority of them are over here in the UK. And they maybe have heard of you through maybe a YouTube video they've seen you ministering on perhaps, but not knowing much of the backstory. Where did it all start for you? How did you know that this line of ministry was what God had called you to? But give us a bit of the journey.
Yes, well, I come from a singing family, a preaching family. Of course, I was born and raised in the church. But at a very young age, 5 years old, that's when I knew that singing was my passion. And I told my parents, and my parents, you know, they began to nourish me even more, you know, with my gifts, you know, and protecting my siblings and I, just making sure that, you know, we are protected and we're covered, and so that we can be successful and be effective at what we do. And so I actually thought that singing at some point was all that I was going to do. But then by the age of 13, God began to speak to me, and he said, no, there's more that I require of you. And now, see, at that time, I really didn't understand what he was saying, so I just kept doing what I normally did. And God began to speak it again. He said, there's more that I require of you. You are to evangelize. So ever since the age of 13, I've been traveling the world, preaching and singing the gospel of Jesus Christ, you know. And a lot of people don't know it, but it wasn't until I accepted my calling of preaching till about 1.5 years later, that's when God expanded my music ministry to the world. So, you know, through the songs, Greater is Coming and You're Bigger, things like that. And so God was just basically saying, you got to learn how to distinguish what you know how to do from what you're called to do. Once you're doing what you're called to do, once you're operating in your true purpose, he'll make sure that everything else falls in place.
That's great. That's great. And, you know, along that leadership journey or that journey of growth, was there ever like a moment where maybe a significant epiphany or light bulb moment where maybe you were heading in one direction and something happened that caused you to go in a completely different direction altogether? Can you tell us that story?
Well, no, you know, I've always, of course, knew that this was what God wanted me to do. And it wasn't that, you know, he didn't want to use my music. It was just that at that time, in that moment, he wanted to use my speaking. And once I said yes to God, because we have to understand is we may have one plan and we may think this work and that work, but remember, God has the master plan. And so when he holds the master plan, he knows how to get you to where you need to be. He knows how to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, being successful, prosperous throughout the earth. And so the fact that I, you know, was like, okay, let's do this, to go on this journey, this God journey, you know, that's when God just allowed everything to just fall in place.
Great. And on the journey so far, what's the biggest challenge you've had to face?
I would say when I first started out, because I started out very young, again, 5 years old, singing, preaching 13. And, you know, you kind of get that thing where you feel like you're too young to carry the gospel. You're too, you know, and then people, you know, would say you're too young to do this, to do that. But, you know, one thing we have to understand is the anointing has no age. Success has no age upon it. You know, when God's hands is upon your life, he can use you to do and whatever he desires for you to do, as long as you allow him to do so. And so, you know, God allowed me to gain that confidence in who I was in him, and not be afraid, not to be ashamed, even with my age. And he even took me back to, you know, the Bible, Jeremiah, Joash, you know, all of these different people who started out young. And so that was practically the main thing. And, you know, and just making sure that you don't get sucked into, you know, negativity, because at the end of the day, it comes with the territory. But you have to remain firm on you knowing who you are in God, being confident in what God has called you to do in your purpose, and God will make sure that everything else is taken care of for you.
That's great. That's great. So what we've done in these interviews so far, we've done over 100 now, and we kind of took a time about 3/4 of the way through to figure out, you know, what were the common traits, if you like, in the leaders that we interviewed, and we ended up coming up with what we call the 5 core abilities of highly effective leaders, which is my most recent book, which is the #1 on Amazon as well. And I wanted to ask you some questions around those 5 core abilities and to see how you apply them in your world as a leader now with international influence in your work. The first is the ability to create and communicate a compelling vision. How have you established or created and communicated your vision for your business, for your ministry? What's the process that you followed in doing that effectively?
For me, for my family, because it is a family business, we have our own family record label, own family publishing company, all of these great things God has allowed. All of our writing is in-house. And so for us, what we normally do is we come together, we come around the table, and everybody who has a vision, we'll speak it out, we'll write it down, and we'll give it to God. And we're like, okay, God, this is what we need. This is what you showed us. And so, we give it back to him so that he can do what it is that he can put his print on it, and we make sure that we're doing our job, and to make sure the vision becomes our reality. Because sometimes we can be waiting on God, when we're supposed to do our part as well. And so that's mainly what we do. We come together, write that vision, we speak it out. We don't hold it in, we speak it out amongst each other, and we go to work.
That's great. That's great. So it's a team dynamic, right? Do you have family meetings? I mean, how on a practical level, how does that play out?
It is awesome, and then also being, even though it is a family ministry and business, we also have, other workers outside of the family. But the thing is, it's important that for everybody who's on your team, for them to want it just as much as you want it, for them to want the vision to prosper, want it to not just be a vision, but to be a reality just as much as you do. Basically, everybody working hard, doing their part, to make sure that everything works together. So it's actually great, So it's no better feeling than being around people who has your best interests at heart, and they want to see you prosper in life.
That's good. Well, the second core ability is the ability to create and manage wealth. Do you remember how did you make your first dollar in your business ministry? And if you could give a lesson or a principle about creating and managing wealth to somebody listening, and what would that be?
Yes. Believe it or not, that was one of our it was a pivotal point even before the world knew who Jekalyn Carr was. My father, he worked in, corporate America. He was a manager for different stores. And so he has always had a business mindset and very, very good with finances. And so one of the things he would always say is, that it's important for us to save. Of course, we enjoy what God has given us, but we also have to put back. You don't have to spend every dollar that you make. God forbid something will happen, but you just want to be secure. And so the fact that we follow that principle, we pay our tithes, and and all of that, we are stable. And the thing is, I also hear my father say, it's important that you be financially stable enough to where you have enough finances in your account where you are able to pay your monthly rent for up to 2 months, 2 to 3 months. And so it's very important that you learn how to put back and you save your money, because it's pivotal.
It's great. And the third core ability is it's about productivity. It's about getting things done. It's the ability to focus on the key tasks and eliminate or delegate the rest. What's your number one activity or process, or maybe there's an app that you use that helps you to increase your productivity?
For me, my iPad, and then every now and then, if I'm on the go, I use my phone, or whatever. The app I mostly use when it comes to visions, a business, or something, idea, or something, more than likely it will be my notes app. Writing it down. Again, it all goes back to that. But my father, if you see him, more than likely you're going to see his laptop. You're going to see him on his phone. We all have different tools, because he of course works the business side of it. And then, and so, yeah. And then of course, if I'm writing a song, a lot of times I use my voice note apps. And that helps me to remember.
So take us to you've had some Grammy nominations and Stellar nominations. What's the biggest track you've written?
The biggest track so far is You're Bigger. And You're Bigger.
Let's dig into that track, right? Tell us where that inspiration came from. How did you write the song? Give us that behind the scenes.
Yes, You're Bigger is off of my latest project, the Life Project, and which was a live session, and my father wrote that song. Just helping us to understand that there is no situation too great, no obstacle too great that God cannot help you overcome. If he's bigger than the universe, what is your issue to him? And that song also helped us to understand that many of us, we've seen God perform miracle signs and wonders right before our eyes. We celebrate that, but we've got to know that God is even bigger than that. So every day, it challenges you, that song challenges you to tap into a place with God, where you say, God, introduce me to a side of you that I've never experienced before, because I understand that you're just that big. And I wanted to call out issues, that according to man, according to natural circumstances, it's impossible for us to overcome. In the song, you hear me saying, you're bigger than HIV, you're bigger than cancer, you're bigger than all of these things, struggles and issues that people deal with on a daily basis, and just helping them to understand that what is too big for you is just right for God.
Amen. And I really encourage everyone listening, go to YouTube, go check out Jekalyn Carr, go listen to You're Bigger. You will be blessed. You'll be blessed. Jekalyn, the fourth ability out of the five is it's about team, and it's about getting the best out of the people you lead, and even if whether they like you or not. If you could think of a time you've had to build a team or put a team together for a new project or business, what process do you go about for selecting or building that team? Maybe what's worked and what hasn't worked in the past as well, maybe. Give us some insight into that, if you will.
Well, really, to be honest, I don't myself handle as the team, as far as getting the team together. My father handles that because, of course, he works the business side. But the main thing that we always try to make sure is that we have people on the team, again, who has our best interests at heart, people who don't mind working, people who you will see results from, because a lot of times people are working, but there's no results. And then you have to do evaluation and analyzation, to make sure that you got the right hands working your vision. And so that's our main thing, just making sure that our vision is in the hands of the right people.
And that's really important, and it's not always easy to determine who the right people are. But I guess when you're working with family and a close network of people that have known you for a long time, and I guess it can be more secure in one sense. You know who you're dealing with, you know what they're bringing, they've got your back. It can be easier. Whereas in other dynamics where you've got people that you're having to put out, resume requests and do interviews and go through selection process, it can be a lot more fluid and a lot more challenging, I imagine.
Yes, absolutely. And then of course, it definitely takes discernment, and most of our moves, even especially when it comes to bringing people on, we never do it without consulting God. And I think that's another reason why we have been successful in that area thus far, because God knows who to put in your path and who don't need to be a part of what you're doing. And so thus far we've been pretty successful in that. So basically you can never go wrong when you consult with God about it.
That's good. And the fifth core ability is about confidence, and it's about the ability to defy self-doubt and still lead with conviction. We've had so many different people in the past. We've had, people like Dr. L.V. the King and so many others. We've had to defy self-doubt because of social issues or political issues or gender issues that have tried to stop them being who God has called them to be. And I'm wondering, for yourself, how have you been able to maintain that confidence and conviction and that drive to keep going and defy self-doubt? How have you done that?
Well, one thing you have to, everybody really has to be aware of, whether you are a business owner, athlete, singer, preacher, whatever your gift or purpose is, we all must understand that there are certain things that comes with certain territory. And one thing that we all have in common is that the obstacles and just different challenges that we have to face within our careers. And so for me, I just like to stay focused on my assignment and don't allow, what I hear, whether it be negative things or negative feelings, to pull me away from where I'm supposed to be, and just, as you said, remaining confident. And a lot of that comes with you knowing who you are, because you cannot, you can only stay focused and stay motivated and pushing when you know who you are. And so, because you have something to work with, you're reminding yourself of the fact that you have destiny with your name written on it. You're reminding yourself of the fact that there's so many people who's depending on you. There's so many people who you're called to that needs your help. And so the fact that there alone is a lot of motivation within itself for me, because I love people. I love God's people and doing what it is that I'm doing. And it blesses me to hear, the testimonies of people of how my ministry has given them hope. It gives me hope. Their testimony does. And so those are some of the things that helps me within my journey, making sure that I'm motivated and pushing. And then, of course, being surrounded by the right people, people that will continue to impart into you and, can look beyond your challenges, look beyond what you're facing, and still proclaim that you are who God says you are.
Amen. 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 Awesome. And so we're going to go to our quick fire round now, right? And some quick fire questions for you. First question is, what does the first 90 minutes of your day look like? John Maxwell said that the secret to your success is hidden in your daily routine. What does the first 90 minutes of your day look like?
For me, it's definitely when I wake up, I'm in my Bible. That's my push. That's my goal. My energizer for the day. Read a good scripture, and then I write. Whether I have a vision or something, I'm always writing, and then doing whatever it is that I need to do, whether it be videos or whatever it is I need to do for that day, for an event or something like that, something working within my purpose. Okay. And then once I'm done with all of that, I try to do some fun stuff, I guess.
Okay, and what are the key habits that have contributed towards your success?
Focus and faithfulness, and being surrounded by the right people and staying connected to the source, which is God.
Amen. And what's your biggest weakness as a leader?
My biggest weakness? You said, what is my biggest weakness?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said clearly.
As a leader,
Um,
yeah. Don't worry, man. We got the next one. Is what's your biggest strength?
for
So,
me, I don't. I, oh, okay. I was, my biggest weakness though will probably be I'm a lover of people. For me.
okay, all right.
Yes, and my biggest strength yes, my biggest strength is definitely my family and God.
Amen. It's often the case that our strengths and our weaknesses are the same, are the different sides of the same coin. So, being a lover of people can be a weakness. It can also be a great strength as well. Um, who have been your top three most significant mentors in your life journey so far?
My dad, and my grandparents.
Okay. Let me dig a bit deeper into each of those three. What's been the most significant piece or the best single piece of advice you've received from each of those people?
For the most part, my parents, my grandparents, they always remind me to
Start with your
never
mom.
lose. My mom, well, really, they all really have the same advice for the
Okay.
most part, because, they all grew up, my mom, they all grew up under the same teaching. And so for the most part, they're always reminding me to never lose sight of what it is that I am assigned to do. Yes, we are supposed to live a prosperous life, a successful life, but at the end of the day, we are purposed and assigned to somebody to make sure that they are being drawn to Christ and they are introduced to that prosperous life that God desires for them to live. So for the most part, making sure that I stay focused on my assignment, and doing what it is that God has called me to do.
That's great. That's great. I love that. And we're almost done now, right? What's the thing you're most fired up about right now?
Most fired up about probably the new endeavors for the year 2018 for Jekalyn Carr Ministries. I stated before that I'm getting ready to release my album One Nation Under God in February, and my new book, my first book, entitled You Will Win, that's coming out as well in February. Both of them are available for pre-order via iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon. And of course, the book is on barnesandnoble.com as well. Just a lot of traveling and other things that God is allowing Jekalyn Carr Ministries to break off into. I'm doing more acting. I'm a fashion designer as well.
Wow.
So there's a lot that
Wow.
doing now. So
How old are you now?
I am 20 years old.
Oh, wow. You are smashing it. We say in the UK, you're smashing it.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Well done, man. If there's a book or a resource that you'd recommend to a leader or an entrepreneur that's listening right now, what would it be?
Um, There are a lot of them, but I would definitely tell you which books I lean more, the type of books I lean more to. There's two types. I love inspirational books that, keep you motivated, and, you find, and some of them are self-explanatory with the titles. And then I also love autobiography books. I love books that tells the story of which a person, how they got to, because nobody just woke up out of the blue, and got to where they are. There was definitely a process and just things they had to do to get to where they are. And so I love to get engaged in their story, and maybe there's certain things that I can learn, what to do, what not to do. And it's very helpful. You believe it or not, you'd be surprised how helpful it can be.
Awesome. And Jekalyn, please just tell us, how do we find out more about you? Is there like a website, a YouTube channel? Are you on Twitter, Facebook? Like, how do we find out more and follow you?
Yes, all of that you just named. My website, you can log on to youwillwin.org, YOUWILL.org. And on the website, I give you the opportunity to share your winning story, how God has allowed you to win over different challenges in life. And then outside of that, of course, I'm on YouTube, Jekalyn Carr, JEKALYNCARR. And then Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is all under my name at Jekalyn Carr, JEKALYNCARR.
Awesome. Jekalyn, it's just been great to have had you on the show today, Jekalyn, and just to hear your story, hear your journey, your experiences, the lessons you've learned, hearing your focus as well, just that focusing on your assignment and how powerful and important that it really is for anyone listening. Really appreciate you, man. I want everyone listening to go and check out Jekalyn Carr. Go and listen to her YouTube videos. Go and check out her website. Go and download a new album. Go and get a new book from Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Just go and support this amazing young lady and this amazing ministry. Jekalyn, we appreciate you. We bless you. We bless God for you. And we look forward to seeing you over here in the UK.
Thank you so much. It's been all my pleasure talking with you. May God continue to bless you and all that you do.
Thank you again for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. I pray you've been inspired, you've been lifted, you've been encouraged to take your personal leadership to the next level. We really encourage you guys to just take action, make it happen, do something, start somewhere, go out and change the world in some way, big or small. Guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends, share with your loved ones, your colleagues, someone out there you think might benefit from hearing this great content. And if you want some more questions answering, you got a question, email me, Errol@ErrolLawson.com. Or if you want a free 30 to 45 minute coaching session with myself around the leadership challenge or issue you're working on in your business, your church, or in your organization, please feel free to email me right away. We'll get you booked in. It's Errol@ErrolLawson.com. Thank you again for listening. Go to our iTunes page, check it out, check out the previous episodes, give us a nice review, that would be awesome. Really appreciate if you could do that for us. We really appreciate you just for being here and listening. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Rising Generation.